Hello, everybody. It's July 2nd, 2025. It's Joe from the Strange Voyage Files. And today I'm going to be talking about something that is gonna be somewhat controversial. It's definitely something where people have differing opinions, and especially now, it's may hit hard, may hit a little bit hard, but I want to talk about how many people's perception of Ozzy has changed, especially in the past 25 years. One of the things that I really am going to touch on in this video, and I want to pull something up because I want to make sure I have the right dates down. Okay. Is how people have let Ozzy get away with a lot of the things Sharon has done under the guise of, well, he just doesn't know, or he was on drugs, or he doesn't get involved in that. And a lot of that comes from him saying, well, I didn't know, Sharon takes care of the business end of this, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. And we're going to talk about that and see if that's correct and see if it's true. And if Ozzy is always, these things that Sharon has done, was Ozzy really completely out of the loop in? I want to start off, and this kills me because I have this book somewhere in my house. But Stephen, and I don't know if I'm going to say his last name right, Mishat, I believe he's a producer, he's a lawyer, but when the Blizzard of Oz band formed, he was there. He was a big part of the business side of things, working with the Ardents. He wrote a book called Gods, Gangsters, and Honor. And again, I have this book somewhere, and it's a great book because he not only talks about Ozzy, talks about all these, a whole bunch of stories about Hollywood and music and film, and really an interesting book. You should pick it up. But I want to start off with two things that I got out of this book. And I have another book I'm going to read an actual passage from because I want it to be crystal clear, and I want to do that. But again, I don't know what the heck I did with this book. Maybe I gave it away. Maybe I donated it. We donated a lot of stuff to the library, and maybe I just was never going to read it again. So I may have donated it to our local library. So, but two things that I want to take away from what he said, and why I'm starting this video talking about this is, in a nutshell, Stephen really backs up a lot of things that Bob Daisley, Lee Kerslake have said about, how important they were to the beginnings of the Blizzard of Oz band, that it was a band. He does say that it was absolutely says it was a band. And Bob you can go online, you can Google this, and Bob said, I just looked it up, Bob says that Stephen gives an accurate account of what happened. But one of the things that he says, and this is what I really want to hit home is, and again, this kills me, I cannot find this book. Somewhere along the lines, without the book, I can't quote it verbatim, and I haven't read the book in about a year, but this stuck with me. He says something along the lines of that Ozzy is not as stupid as he makes himself out to be. And Ozzy is not as out of the loop as people think he is. He really kind of talks Ozzy up, and says, he basically, when he's not on drugs, that he knows what's going on. He's not, he's not completely oblivious to everything that's going on. Now, when he's on drugs, it's a totally different story. I mean, we all know that. So, for years and decades, we've heard these stories. starts out with Bob and Lee being kicked out of the Blizzard of Oz band. Yes, it was a band, by Sharon the Troll, and Ozzy went, well, I don't know anything about, it was Sharon, and Sharon wanted us to have an American band, and, blah, 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 and, I don't know, I don't get involved, it was all business, and I don't get involved in the business end, and blah, blah, blah. It's okay, that happens. Jakey Lee comes in, and now we don't learn about this really until Jake goes on that metal show decades later, but Jakey Lee comes in. Sharon is not going to allow the same mistake that was made on Blizzard and Diary with Bark of the Moon. So nobody's going to get royalties except for the Osbournes. Jake and Bob are going to sign an agreement that says they're getting a flat fee. And I read Bob's book, and one of the questions that people continuously ask Bob is, if you're always getting screwed over by the Osbournes, what the hell are you going back for all the time? He said, well, because the money, even though flat fee money, it's still good money. I think he said he got enough off Bark of the Moon to buy a house. That's pretty damn good. If you can go in and work for a couple months and walk away and buy a house, who's going to say no to that? So, they're being paid. I don't want to say well, because if they were getting royalties, they'd be getting paid what they should be getting paid. But it's not like they're getting paid absolutely nothing. But we hear the story about Jakey Lee, how they don't want to pay him royalties, and Sharon says, "I'll get you a ticket to go." They're in England. Get you a ticket to go back to the United States, and you can get in line and sue me. That was pretty much exactly what Jake said she had told him. And then Phil Soussan, there's a story with Phil Soussan where, he gets fired, basically over same thing, basically over royalties for Shot in the Dark. Zach has always been a class act, fired in and out of the band. One of the things Ozzy did say, and I can understand this. This one I'm not gonna nail Ozzy to the cross with this. Is that his band was starting to sound, and the music that Zach was writing was sounding for Ozzy was sounding like Black Label Society. He goes, I did not want to be the lead singer for Black Label Society. I'm with Ozzy on that. Black Label Society is okay. I'm not a huge Black Label Society fan, but it's definitely very different from Ozzy, and I get that. If what Zach was bringing to the table musically was Black Label stuff, I'll side with Ozzy. But there was that, part between No More Tears and Osmosis where Zach, I think was fired over the phone I don't remember exactly how it went, but again, Zach has always been a class act, so, but it, and then, the laundry list, just go, Gus G, I think was fired by over the phone or something like that, and it just keeps going, it keeps going, and most of the time, Ozzy just says, "Oh, I don't know. I didn't know." It's Sharon handles that. Sharon handles the business end. That's all in the business end. I don't deal with it. Sharon deals with it. Sharon deals with it. Okay. I want to read this book, Diary of a Madman. I had this book since I was about 12, 13 years old. I want to read you an excerpt from this. So, on page 195. Would Ozzy prefer his band to be more permanent? Okay, question posed to Ozzy. Ozzy's response: no, not really. Change is vital. I think variety is the spice of life, and all that. I worked with the same people in Sabbath for all those years, and these days, of course, I always wonder why the blank did I pull out earlier than I did. Mind you, I suppose if I had pulled out earlier, there's a chance I wouldn't be sitting here right now. Ozzy Osbourne, who I'd be part of the forgotten few. Working with the same people for years and years without a break becomes like blanking torture, though Worse than clocking. Yes, I'm not saying the F words. Could be kids watching this. And yes, I do care about that. Worse than clocking on for some stinking job. You just don't care either way what happens to you after a while. You just go on existing. Now, if my band gets boring, I try to do something to make it interesting again. A new face always boosts everybody up. Besides, it's a new challenge. I mean, what do you do? My vision's horrible. New face always boosts everybody up. And besides, new challenge. I mean, what do you do when you get to the top of the mountain and you've stuck your flag in, go home? Oh, look, that's my blanking great flag. When the challenge is gone, you're dead. All right. Ozzy's words. So, again, after Blizzard of Oz, it's Ozzy's band. So if Ozzy wants to fire people and bring new people in, that's fine. It's Ozzy's band. But here's where the problem lies. Don't sit there and say, it's Sharon. It's Sharon. It's Sharon. Now, for decades, two things have happened. People let him slide. People just, didn't give much thought to it. It was, hey, that's rock and roll. And also, before the internet, we didn't know these stories. What we got was if there was an interview in Rip or in Metal Edge or whatever it may be, or Circus, whatever it may be, you've always pretty much got the Osbourne side of the story. And, creative differences and, Jake, wanted to move on and do Badlands and nobody cared about, and like Bob Daisley, let's be honest, before the internet, who cared about interviewing Bob Daisley? Bob's awesome. Bob, I think, does not get the credit he's due. But nobody's running out to interview Bob Daisley. Nobody's running out to interview Lee Kerslake back in the 80s. The guitar player, maybe. But so we had the one side. We had the one side of the coin for decades and decades and decades and decades and decades. And even if we did think, okay, well, and Sharon always got the blame, and she was fine with it. Sharon could care less what anyone thinks about her. All Sharon cares about is what that paycheck looks like. That's the only thing that woman cares about. But, Ozzy was our hero. Ozzy was lovable, and he truly, even Bob Daisley said, he loved being with Ozzy. Nobody has ever said Ozzy's a jerk or Ozzy's terrible or Ozzy's mean. The people that toured with him, Motley Crue, Metallica, Van Halen, Def Leppard, everybody says how gracious Ozzy is and how wonderful. The opening bands. I mean, there's parameters because there's Sharon. If there was no Sharon, I mean, from the sounds of it, Ozzy would say to the opening band, "You want to go and play for an hour and a half? Sure, go play with it. Sure, just let me fine. Just play what you want to, and then I'll come out and I'll play my set, and we'll go to the pub afterwards." I mean, that would probably be his mindset. He doesn't care. He the stories of Ozzy himself have been very, very good. And another thing I want to bring in. Why did I choose to do this is because I think it's Watch Mojo just released a video that said 10 times Ozzy's been the greatest human being. And again, I mean, by all accounts, Ozzy as a person, he usually is very, very wonderful. But have we let him off the hook too easily? Well, I think so. And if you look at things on the internet now, especially in the past 20, 25 years, there's been a shift. And from everybody loves Ozzy and Ozzy's our hero to Ozzy getting a lot of criticism and getting a lot of backlash and not being able to hide under it was Sharon, it was Sharon, it was Sharon. And I think there are two major events that prompted this. Otherwise, I don't think people would be calling Ozzy out. Ozzy's not in good shape now, but this Back to the Beginning tour has prompted a lot of questions. People feel fooled because they bought tickets, and then after that, they said, well, Ozzy may not even be able to show up. I hope all proceeds are going to charity, and I don't know. I want to state that I have no idea. But the streaming, is that going to charity? You buy a ticket for the streaming, there's another package with a shirt. Is that going to charity? The shirts and the merchandise that you're going to be able to buy online and at the venue, is that all going to... It may be. I don't know. I personally, and this is just my opinion, though many people agree with this opinion, I find it very hard to believe that Sharon Osbourne is walking away from this without making a dime. It's not in her character. It is not how we know the woman. So this has really prompted a lot of people to go, once again, and it's not just Sharon anymore. For a long time it was, well, Sharon screwed us again. Sharon hates the fans. It's, what did Ozzy and Sharon do? Ozzy can't keep hiding behind Sharon. Okay. So 2 things I believe where Ozzy claims he didn't know anything about and whatnot, and these 2 things are what's really opened those floodgates as to whether or not you want to believe Ozzy is totally without sin when it comes to these actions that, Sharon... Ozzy says it was Sharon, and Sharon happily takes the blame. Again, this woman could care less about us. We are nothing but a cash trap. We are an ATM to Sharon Osbourne. That is all we are. As long as we have our credit cards out and we are buying merchandise and we are buying tickets and we are buying albums and we are buying, we can think whatever we want about her. She could care less about any of us. I don't think that's the case for Ozzy. I do think Ozzy does care about us. I think he really is grateful to the fans. But I think he's hidden too much. And it's come back to bite him in the ass. All right. So 2 things. The first one is the 2002 re-recordings of Blizzard and Diary. And that was what I wanted to look up. I wanted to make sure I had the years right. Again, Ozzy goes, I didn't know. Sharon, Sharon's protecting me from the lawsuits of Bill or of Bob Daisley and Lee Curtis. Like, Ozzy knew about all the lawsuits. Ozzy was well aware. He knew it. He's talked about them. In fact, in his book, he said something like about Bob Daisley. He goes, I stopped working with him because he kept suing me every other week or something along those lines. There is no way I am going to buy, and there's no way many people are going to buy. Ozzy had no idea that his 2 most successful and influential albums were being re-recorded with 2 other musicians, and he had no knowledge of it. BS. That's a lie. I'm saying it out loud. I absolutely believe that is a lie. Once again, I think Sharon said, I'll take the heat. I don't care. These people are idiots. And I think I'm one of the people that thinks that New Coke, they always knew New Coke was going to fail. They always knew New Coke was going to fail. They just wanted to generate the hype for old Coke again. And so what did Coca-Cola do? They brought out Coke. Pepsi was beating Coke. They brought out New Coke, which was basically Pepsi. People bought it in droves, hated it. I actually loved it. I missed Coke 2, and it ended up being called Coke 2. And then went back and bought regular Coke, real, original Coke again. It went through the roof. They knew what they were doing. They made money off Coke 2, and they made money off the resale of original Coke. The troll, Sharon the troll, she made money off of these re-recordings because even the people like me, most die-hard Bob and Lee fans were horrendously curious and bought the 2 stupid re-recorded albums and tossed them. Mine are gone. Absolutely gone. And then they released the real things again. And that generated hype for people. Now, we had the original ones, but people who didn't know anything about it, original, generated sales again. So I think she did do it to try to skirt around the paying Bob Daisley and Lee Kerslake the performance, because it was the performance royalties that they were going after. But I think she knew, even if this fails, it's going to generate a lot of money either way. But Ozzy kept saying, I don't know about it. I didn't know about it. And when I found out, I told Sharon, I don't care. I want the original thing back. Boy, it makes him look like the good guy again, doesn't it? When this backfired horribly. I don't buy it. You go into McDonald's, and an employee in McDonald's has the coffee brewing too hot. You spill coffee on yourself. You burn yourself. You don't sue that employee. You sue McDonald's. You sue the name on the door. You're on American Airlines. Pilot's drunk. Crashes the plane. Your family doesn't go after the pilot's family. Pilot goes after American Airlines. Go after the name on the door. See where I'm going with this? And I'm not going to buy Ozzy had no idea. Ozzy tells a story that at one point during the Osbournes, MTV was going to give him a check for, and again, I'm going to get part of this wrong. I'm going by my memory, but give him a check for something. I don't remember what it was. And he said, I'm not a businessman, but even I knew if I cashed that check, that would be seen as compensation for something for the Osbournes, and we wouldn't be able to get all the big money, because it was like I'm throwing a number out. It was a low number, $20,000 check, whatever. It was nothing, compared to what they got for the Osbournes. He said, even I know not to do that. That shows Ozzy's not as dumb as he tries to perceive he is. That Stephen Machat is correct. And you can look that up. You can Google it. It's I'm not making it up. It's real. And that was the first blow. I think when people are like, Ozzy, what are you doing? No, we want the real thing. What are you doing to us? What are you doing? And I have to say, on those re-recordings, now, Michael Bordin, that his name? I believe the reissue was, Mike Bordin from Faith No More. I don't know anything about him. Don't think he's all that great of a drummer. He never did anything for me, so I don't expect anything from him. The guy that surprised me was Robert Trujillo. I love that man. Probably the only guy I really like in Metallica. He is a class act. Robert is a good man. I understand he was in the Ozzy band. He was making money. He had a family to support. But it wasn't like he didn't have any other options. I'm surprised Robert went along with that, because Robert is a stand-up guy. Robert is a good, moral, decent person. He's a great man, good father, and he's an honest guy. I mean, I'm sure Sharon threw a big paycheck in his face, and again, is it house? Hey, go buy a house, not just some little shack. Go buy a nice house, Robert. I mean, I don't know. It just surprised me. I can't say I wouldn't have done it. I don't know. I hope I wouldn't have done it. He's the one that surprised me, though, because Robert is truly, when I think Robert Trujillo, I think a man with integrity. So I'm kind of, and he knew it was going. Robert is, there is no game like with Ozzy. Robert is not stupid at all. Robert's a smart guy. He's a good guy. Just really kind of surprised and a little disappointed that Robert went along with this. He knew what was going on. But that was the first kink in the armor. That's when people started to say, Ozzy, no, don't try to fool us. The Hiroshima attack, though, was Bill Ward with the 13 debacle. When Sharon, I'm sure was a big part of this, decided, let's not give Bill and Geezer as much as Ozzy and Tony, because Ozzy and Tony are the two that share the rights to the Black Sabbath name. I'm sure Sharon figured, if we lose Geezer, I don't know if they could really get along with losing. Bill would be the most expendable one. And Ozzy went on the attack to the point where they didn't talk it for years. And Ozzy, Bill said it was an unsignable contract. And Ozzy said that Bill his health was not up to it, that he couldn't do it, and attacked Bill. Really went on the attack, and Bill responded how hurt he was. And this is where I'm very disappointed in both Tony and in Geezer. The only time I can really say I've lost faith in Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler, because since then they were, I don't know why Bill wasn't there. I don't know what the circumstances were. Tony, you are Black Sabbath. Don't give me that you didn't know what it was. So I'm giving you just as much blame as Ozzy, and the same thing with Geezer. Now Geezer writes in his book, I got to give the man credit, because he says that two things, that him and Ozzy are basically, they're terrified of their wives. They do whatever their wives tell them to do. But he also talks about the agreement of his part in Black Sabbath, and that they can't tour without his okay. So either one of them, Tony or Geezer, could have said, absolutely not, Sharon. We're not playing this game. Bill is in this, or we're not going. Even if Tony went along with it, Geezer could go, all right, well, you guys go have fun writing and recording this stupid album, but guess what? You're not touring under the Black Sabbath banner, because I'm not giving you the okay without Bill Ward on the drums. They all shovel, hole in sand, head in sand. It was a joke. Ozzy could not escape that one, because he outright said it. And since then, he said, it wasn't Black Sabbath without Bill Ward. And oh God, I don't know how this happened, and blah, blah, blah. But you knew exactly. You were part of it. Sharon the Troll did not realize how beloved Bill Ward is. Yes, everybody loves Ozzy for being the madman. Yes, everybody loves Geezer for, his great bass playing. Yes, everybody loves Tony Iommi for being the creator. Everybody loves Bill Ward just because he's Bill Ward. Almost everybody loves Bill Ward best in that band. You don't mess with our Bill. And it was disgusting because we all bought the horrible crap of an album with that horrible producer, Rick Rubin, laying on his back. Oh, I don't hear Black Sabbath. Guy's a waste. And we all went to the tour. I went to the tour. I think I saw her twice. So, Sharon got her cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. But it did finally expose, because now when you look when there are posts, and there's a lot of groups on Facebook, and I'm in quite a few of them that are like Blizzard of Oz was a band group. A couple of them are Randy Rhoads appreciation groups, which I don't like that they pull so much into this fight over the Blizzard of Oz band, because Randy was very non-confrontational, and even though by almost everybody's account, he was absolutely in the camp that this is a band. I didn't sign up to be Ozzy's guitarist. I signed up to be part of a band. And it was part of the reason why he was going to walk away after doing a Park at the Moon album. But I don't like that a lot of people put in these Randy Rhoads appreciation groups, they start these attacks. But the attacks have not... A lot of them, they're not just Sharon. They're Sharon and Ozzy. A lot of them are, Ozzy, you did this. Ozzy, you were a part of this. And I think when he went against Bill Ward, everybody said enough. That's it. Now, I can tell you, I've attacked Sharon in those. I put my 2 cents in on those Facebook groups too. And there are people that instantly, I mean, really, almost like they're paid to, will go to everybody who says anything negative about the Sharon. That I love calling her a troll because she is. Money, man, it's like like that evil leprechaun. You see that movie Leprechaun? My pot of gold, my pot of gold. Ozzy, my pot of gold, Ozzy, oh my gold, Ozzy. Let's prop you up and go sing, Ozzy. Mommy needs more money. Ooh, let's get Minnie too. Oh, I can't stand that woman. Um, but there are people that just instantly will attack those who say anything bad about Sharon, almost like they're paid. That's neither here nor there. So we're coming up on this Back to the Beginning tour and Ozzy's final live. I hope that I don't, I never want anything bad to happen to Ozzy. Even as much as I hate Sharon, I don't want anything bad to happen to the woman. I'd like to see her lose all her money. I think that would be great. I don't think that would be a bad thing. I would love like one bad investment and she loses like everything. Absolutely everything. Oh, God. That's what I would love to see happen to her. And, Ozzy, I don't have any money, Ozzy. It'll never happen, but, oh, God, it would be great. It's sad because we don't know what we're going to get. I'm on the fence as to whether or not to pay for this streaming. It's going to be on YouTube. There's going to be a Blu-ray. There's going to be probably a 4K, knowing Sharon. I don't know whether or not I'm going to do the streaming thing because we don't know what we're expecting. We don't know what's going on, and I guess there's a 2-hour delay. Why? Why can't it just be live? And it comes full circle now. Is this thing was promoted as Ozzy's last concert, and remember before tickets went out, everybody thought Ozzy was going to play a set with Black Sabbath and songs with his solo band. J.K. Lee was coming back. And then tickets go on sale. It sells out like that. And then, Ozzy may not even show up. Now, there have been pictures where they are practicing and whatnot, so it's looking good. But we don't know. It doesn't sound like he's playing any solo stuff. Sammy Hagar is supposed to sing Flying High again. And he didn't know. Well, he talked about it with whatever that Ozzy Speaks thing he does. That's kind of where this story broke. So beforehand, before you sold the tickets, Ozzy, you couldn't have said, hey, look. And I think everybody would have been. Everyone's very sympathetic to Ozzy when it comes to the Parkinson's. Everyone is very supportive of Ozzy. If you're not supportive of a man who has Parkinson's, then there's something wrong with you. If Ozzy would have said, I am going to do before tickets went on sale, I am going to do everything in my power to be there. I can't guarantee I will. I can't guarantee if it's a good Parkinson's day, I may be able to sing 20 songs between the solo band and Sabbath. If it's a bad Parkinson's day, I may only be able to sing 2 or 3. I don't know what I can do. All I can tell you is I'm going to do the best I can. I don't think that would have. I think everybody still would have bought tickets. I don't think that would have changed a thing. But no, another game. But Ozzy didn't. Did Ozzy not know? Is this another thing Ozzy didn't know? The blame can't always be on Sharon. Ozzy, your name's on the door. Your name's on the album. Your name's on the CD. Your name's on the Blu-ray, on the DVD. It's on the ticket. It's on this. I was on drugs. You know what? If you drive a car and you run over a kid on a bike, I was on drugs. Judge isn't going to go, well, hey, that's that kid's fault, man. You were on drugs. What was that kid doing on his bike? He should have realized there are going to be people on drugs driving around. Ozzy, you're good. Don't worry about it. You're on drugs. It's fine. No. Go to jail for life. Unless you're Vince Neil. But, no. I was on drugs is not going to cut it. We let it go for a long, long, long time. And it's sad that as Ozzy's health is deteriorating, this is going to be part of his legacy too. And as time goes on, I'm sure this part will be forgotten. He'll be remembered for the music. But now this again, even the final bow, they had the opportunity to have the final bow with hands clean. But no, couldn't even get that. And don't tell me Ozzy didn't know. There's no way he didn't know. Could have done a quick little press release, quick little YouTube video. Everybody would have supported him. They would have sold it. I mean, the concert in itself, even if it wasn't an Ozzy Osbourne concert, if it wasn't a Black Sabbath concert, it's just a concert, that place would have been sold out like that. The lineup that was going to be there. But Sharon had to make sure, because she's making no money on this. All right, well, I just, again, so many people say this stuff online. This is brought up over and over and over and over again. Tell me what you think. Am I being too hard on Ozzy? Have we not been hard enough on Ozzy? Is it, at some point, should people pay the piper? Say, we're not being fooled again by you, Oz. He was our hero. God, he was my hero. I used to write Ozzy across my knuckles. I went to Catholic school. I'd get in trouble all the time. I wrote Ozzy across all the books. On the inside, I put Joe Ozzy in my last name. You had to write your name in the book. So they call my parents. I get home. I get in a lot of trouble. Ozzy was everybody's hero. When you worship somebody like that, you let them get away with a lot of things. 15, 16, 22, 23, 24-year-olds let people get away with those things. When you turn 50, you're like, how many times are you going to lie to us and say it wasn't me, it was my wife? Changes. And another thing is, Ozzy's fans have been extraordinarily loyal. Think about the garbage albums that have come out. Really, after No More Tears. Now, I know there are a lot of people that like Osmosis. I hate that album. I think it's his worst. Yes, even worse than Ordinary Man and Patient Number 9. I think Osmosis is absolute garbage. Perry Mason is an awesome song. The rest are horrendously bad. But Down to Earth stinks. I like Scream. Black Rain stinks. Ordinary Man, most people don't like. I think it's okay. Patient Number 9 stinks. Ozzy fans have stuck through him through all this stuff. Because we love him. People always knew that Ozzy was making albums. There were Black Sabbath fans that were monster Black Sabbath fans in the 70s and early 80s. You go up to them and say, hey, what'd you think of that Tear album? What the hell is a Tear album? What'd you think of Cross Purposes? Is that a bicycle company? What's Cross Purposes? What are you talking about? What about Dio fans? What do you think of Angry Machines? Is that an AI thing? What is it? What is it? Maiden fans, what do you think of A Matter of Life and Death? Like, is this a philosophical question? But Ozzy fans, they stuck with him even through these horrible albums. We deserve better. We absolutely deserve better. So, let me know what you think. It's an interesting rant. I just wanted to touch on this because as we go really into the sunset of Ozzy's career, I mean, a lot of it was, in my opinion, based on lies. And I hate saying it, but it's true. And Ozzy lied to us multiple times and hid behind Sharon. So tell me what you think. All right, like, subscribe, and do all that other stuff. Ring the little bell, and I will see you soon.